It has become a very widespread custom to stay up learning Leil Shavuos. In previous generations, it was a custom of Yechidei Skula, very special people, not something that everyone did. It was primarily of the Talmidei Chachamim. Then the Hasidim adopted it. It became more widespread. Of Hasidim, once there was electric lights, it became even more widespread. Several hundred years ago, there was a Jew. He wasn't a Chassid, wasn't a Misnagid, but however, he found himself at the table of Yisrael of Roshan, Leil Shavuos, and as he's there, as they're going through the night, Zugan Torah, saying Torah as the Hasidim say, this man started thinking to himself, shouldn't I be reciting the Tikun Leil Shavuos? The Tikun Leil Shavuos has the first 3 Pesukim and last 3 Pesukim of every Parsha and Chumash, every Sefer and Tanakh, the first and last Mishnayos of every Masechta, the first few words, first few sentences, and last sentence of every Masechta of Gemara, Sifrei Halacha, Kabbalah, and so on. And in this way, so to speak, encompass all of Torah in one night. And as this man is thinking this, the Tzaddik of Roshan, Rabbi Yisrael, turns to him and says that Taroch lefanai shulchan, I will set before me a table, is the same Rosh Tov, it's the same initial letters as Tikun Leil Shavuos. So this is the equivalent of that. Perhaps this is where we come to have the minhag of having different shirim and so on. If one is going to stay up, one should be sure to be learning the time, not doing other things. If one is going to be having history classes and who knows what, spending half the night walking from shul to shul instead of sitting and learning, it's better to sleep during the night and daven properly the next day. For most people have a difficulty davening with proper kavanah when they don't sleep properly. But if someone is going to have intense, uplifting learning, then it's better to learn for the night. There was a close relationship between the Maggid of Dubno, the Dubno Maggid, and the Vilna Gaon. And whenever the Dubno Maggid was in Vilna, he would stay by the Gaon. And when Leil Shavuos, they are together in Vilna, and the Gaon looks up and see that the Dubno Maggid is learning Gemara, not saying the Tikun Leil Shavuos. So the Gaon asks the Maggid, no, shouldn't you be reciting the Tikun as is the minhag of all of us? And the Dubno Maggid says, as he always did, I'll answer you with the parallel. There was a very wealthy cloth merchant who owned many warehouses full of different types of cloth. And he had a book of samples of all the different types of cloth that he had. And he would travel from place to place, town to town, city to city, with his sample book and showing the samples to the different merchants. And the merchants would order different numbers of bolts of different cloths, and they'd pay him, and he would send them the cloth. An ignorant peasant who observed this didn't know the whole story, but he's thinking, listen, I can do that too. So he gets together a book of different types of cloth that he finds in different places. He goes around and no one's giving him any money. He doesn't understand. He goes to the merchant and says, I don't understand. I also have a book of cloth. And the merchant says, for me, everyone knows that I have warehouses filled with merchandise, filled with cloth. So they understand that I can deliver the cloth. It's not just a sample. The sample is a sign of what is there. For you, there's nothing more than the book of samples. Doesn't have any real meaning to it. So too, the Maggid said to the Gaon, you, who it's known that you have the Kol Torah Kulo under your belt, you know everything. Everything is there. When you recite a little bit here, a little bit there, at the beginning of this, the beginning of that, yes, it encompasses the entire thing. You immediately in your mind's eye go over everything that's there. And so you've learned Kol Torah Kulo and Leil Shavuos. I, who don't have any warehouses full of Torah, have no reserves of knowledge, I have to learn to build up the warehouse. Perhaps this is the reason why people have shirim and don't learn, or don't say the Tikun Leil Shavuos among Sfardim. It's very common to say the Tikun Leil Shavuos among certain Ashkenazim also say the Tikun Leil Shavuos. However, the widespread custom is go to different shirim. They should be shirim of great content of Torah, where one can uplift oneself to receive the Torah Shavuos morning. Everyone should have inspirational Yom Tov. It should go from Shabbos to a higher level of Yom Tov as you go through the night and go through the davening in the morning.